So Erev Tov, and we find ourselves, unfortunately, find ourselves in the third week of the Milchama, the war of the iron swords. Hashem should bless us within the entire Jewish nation, bless all the soldiers of Am Yisrael, and with a complete and immediate victory, with no casualties whatsoever, and the return of all the hostages, healthy, safely, and immediately, and Hashem should avenge all the blood of all those that were murdered, the men, women, and children that were murdered till now. And Hashem Yishmor, that there should not be any more korbanot, any more sacrifices. And in regard to this, we wanted to mention a positive thing that was revealed today. It was permitted to be publicized that the the ground forces that entered Gaza in these last few days were in a ground battle, and they were b'chazdei Hashem, with the kindness and the of Hashem. They were able to free one of the hostages from the hands of the murderers, the terrorists, the Hamas. It's a soldier, a woman, a girl, a young woman soldier, and Baruch Hashem, she was freed from her captivity, and she was brought back home safely. And this is the sign of the beginning, and it should be the immediate conclusion of the prayer of Rachel Imenu v'shavu bonim ligvulam, the promise that Hashem gives Rachel Imenu, that all our children will be returned back to our borders, and it should be immediately now, teichef miyad mamash. But when we see such a thing, we have to give our thanks and our praises to Hashem Yisborach, to the Holy One, blessed be He, and that it should be beyeser ses ubeyeser ois, with greater strength and greater power, and it should be teichef umiyad, with the revelation of the Rebbe Shlita Melech Ha'Moshiach. Amen. Like we said earlier, we have a double header tonight, 2 stories for the price of one. One story which is in actuality a story that happened in these last few weeks of the war, and another story that happened a few years earlier, but also under the circumstances of terrorist attacks. The first story, as we know it, the first day of the war, Simchas Torah. So in the city of Ofakim, in the city of Ofakim. So they heard the rockets, they heard the missiles flying over, and the sirens, and there was a woman that went out of her house that morning of Simchas Torah, and she thought, well, they're used to hearing all the sirens and the missiles shooting over their heads and so on. It's hard to get used to such a thing. For those of us that were here, in 2006 in Tafshin Samech Vov, the Second Lebanon War left terrible mental injuries and of anxiety amongst the people here in Sfas, in many all over the north. So to say that they got used to it, there's no way a person can get used to such a thing. But nevertheless, she thought that this was the regular routine. When she opened her door and stepped outside, she was shocked to see that at the front gate of her home, there's a masked terrorist, and he has a a battle vest, and out of the battle vest there are many grenades sticking out, and cassettes of machine guns with filled with bullets, and he's holding, he's wearing he's slinging a submachine gun, and he's fighting in order to go into break the lock and open the gate, and she can't believe it, and he's struggling with the gate, and finally he decided that he'll forget about the gate, and he took out one of the hand grenades, and he was about to go into pull the hand grenade pin and throw it, and at the last minute, before he even pulled the pin, there was a next door neighbor who was a security guard, 31-year-old security guard by the name of Yisrael Chana. And this woman's name, by the way, the woman that's witnessing the entire happening, her name is Rina Moya. He comes out and he's in his slippers, and he has a gun, and he looks and he sees this terrorist. He immediately shoots the terrorist, and he hits the terrorist underneath his battle vest, and this it was a direct hit, and he's starting to starting to bleed out. He was about to fall to the ground, and then he grabs on the terrorist, grabs onto the front gate, and with the last strength that he has before he falls out to the ground, he takes his machine gun and he shoots crazily in the direction of the security guard. And Hashem yinkom dama, Hashem should avenge his blood. The security guard, Yisrael Chana, was killed that morning. The woman who was witnessing this entire episode, she realizes that this is the real thing, and this person that came out and shot the terrorist, he protected her, and he saved her life, and he himself gave up his life for her life. She goes over to the neighbors, and she walks in, and the neighbors are in a state of shock, but the neighbors come and explain to this woman that today, Simchas Torah, was the birthday of Yisrael Chana, the 31st birthday. And then as they look at the woman, and the woman looks at them, they say, 18 years ago, Chai years ago, Yisrael celebrated his bar mitzvah. He celebrated the bar mitzvah here in the neighboring shul, the neighboring synagogue, and they had a big kiddush. And this woman, Rina Moyal, she baked an enormous cake in the form of a Sefer Torah in honor of the bar mitzvah, and she brought the cake to the kiddush, of the bar mitzvah of this security guard that saved her life. So we never understand exactly what is going on and how Hashem runs the show. We don't understand how long a person is here for, and what is the shlichus that they have to fulfill, and when is their shlichus finished? When is their mission in life finished? But apparently, and it's obvious that this Yisrael's mission had come to its culmination that Simchas Torah morning, the day of his birthday. But it came to a situation where the kindness, the chesed, and the compassion of this woman 18 years beforehand, when she went and baked this beautiful, enormous Sefer Torah cake in honor of the Simchas Torah birthday and bar mitzvah of Yisrael, this act of kindness was paid back measure for measure, and not only measure for measure, but literally paid back with Yisrael sacrificing his life for this woman Rina's life. The second story, and Hashem should help that there shouldn't be no more sacrifices in the nation of Israel, whether it be here in Israel, in Gaza, anywhere in the entire world, because the entire world is going topsy-turvy, as we have heard, and many of us have seen. And this should be the beginning of the revelation of the Geula Hashlema V'Amitis with the Rebbe Shlita Melech, revelation of the Rebbe Shlita Melech Ha'Moshiach. The second story, which is also the concept of measure for measure, and maybe we mentioned this, we told this story in the past, but I want to tell another story in order to go into to bring about a balance of goodness in the concept of measure for measure. There was a woman. Her name is Yehudit Jarfi. Now, Yehudit Jarfi, she is a pharmacist in the city of Kiryat Malachi, or as we know it, Nachalas Har Chabad, which is positioned between Ashdod and Ashkelon. If I'm not mistaken, they don't have it easy these days either. But a few years ago, so there was a woman that rushed into the pharmacy, and she asked all the people standing online to excuse her because she's in a terrible rush, and she needs to get certain medicine. And when she was when the pharmacist asked her what is she rushing for, so she said her son is receiving today a medal in honor of the fact that he saved a yeshiva boy from being murdered by a woman terrorist that was outside the yeshiva Shavei Chevron in Chevron, and she wants very much to be at this occasion of her son receiving the medal. Then the pharmacist said, "Well, okay, I understand, but tell me what exactly are the details, because I have a son also that was coming out of the yeshiva Shavei Chevron, and there was a soldier that saved him from a pigua, from a terrorist attack of a woman that was going on the rampage." And after a moment, they exchanged words. They understood that her son, the son of the woman that was rushing to the occasion of her son receiving the medal, this was the medal that he received for saving the pharmacist's son. Now, this woman that was the mother of the soldier that saved the other boy, the yeshiva boy, she looked at the pharmacist and she said, you must understand that maybe my son saved your son, but you saved my son's life. And the pharmacist looked at her and she says, "What are you talking about?" And then she started unraveling a story going back some 20 years ago. She said that 20 years ago, she had a young family. They already had a few girls, and this woman, she went into the pharmacy and she wanted to buy medicine. And when the pharmacist asked her, "What is the medicine for?" So she explained that she's pregnant, and that she wants to sever the pregnancy, God forbid. The pharmacist looked at her and said, "What do you mean to sever a pregnancy? I mean." So she says, "Well, we already had so many girls," and she says she has the feeling that this next pregnancy is going to be a girl also, and she doesn't want it anymore. So she decided to stop the pregnancy. And she said, "How can you do such a thing? Bringing a girl into the world is an enormous blessing. If you don't want the child, so I'll go and I'll take the child, but don't kill the child." And the other woman was very stubborn. And then the pharmacist said to her, "Listen, at least write the Lubavitcher Rebbe, write the Rebbe, and get a blessing from the Rebbe." She wrote the Rebbe, this woman, and she came to the conclusion that she'll keep the pregnancy. The Rebbe gave her a beautiful blessing. And at the end of the pregnancy, the birth was a beautiful baby boy. And she, the woman now, that's looking into the eyes of the pharmacist, says, "This baby that was born is the soldier that saved your son's life. But 20 years before he saved your son's life, you, Rena Jarfi, you saved his life when you talked me into not severing the pregnancy and following up on the birth." So here we see again, Mida keneged Mida, measure for measure. 20 years went by since this pharmacist went and saved the life of this child that wasn't even born yet. He was still in the womb of his mother, but she had the merit of going and saving his life and having him born. And it was through her intervention. 20 years later, this same child that she saved saves her son from the terrible terrorist attack in Chevron. So here again we see, and Hashem should help, that we shouldn't have to come to these types of circumstances in order to go and to give the joy and the happiness, the compassion and the kindness to our fellow Jew. And we should only be able to have these types of things of happiness and kindness under happy and joyous occasions. And the biggest and the best happy and joyous occasion, we should have the revelation of the Rebbe Shlita Melech Ha'Moshiach on a good and revealed basis, and it should be teichef umiyad, mamish, immediately now. And as we said, that Hashem should immediately bring the total victory to all to Am Yisrael, to the soldiers, without any casualties whatsoever, and free all the hostages now, teichef umiyad mamish, and avenge all the blood of those that were murdered, the men, the women, the children that were burnt alive in their homes. All this should be turned about. It should be turned around, and like it says in the days of Purim, La Yehudim Haisa Oira v'Simcha v'Sosan v'Ikar Kein Tihi Elanu. So we should also have this joy and happiness immediately now. Yechi Adonenu Moreno v'Rabbeinu HaMelech HaMoshiach le'olam voed.